Keira Knightley is back on movie screens as King Arthur's leading lady. She found the Dark Ages to be a learning experience.
We like to call it night school. It sounded less terrifying.
On the other hand, when you're armed to the teeth, what's the worry?
He's not only giving me swords, he's giving me knives, axes, and all the rest of it as well.
Keira Knightley, a Dark Ages girl for a new millennium. Next on Extreme Close-Up.
I don't think they've forgiven me yet.
Pelagius once told me there was no worse death than the end of hope.
You and I are not the polite people that live in poems.
Keira Knightley is a very different Guinevere in the latest big screen telling of the Arthurian legend.
We've only ever seen Guinevere as the damsel in distress, the woman who gets passed from man to man and really doesn't have much say about it. My Guinevere's not like that.
Nothing like that, in fact. This Guinevere holds her own in wordplay and swordplay. The new style Guinevere reflects a dramatic new take on Arthur and his marauding knights.
I think it's very difficult not to have seen any of the Camelot, the King Arthur films before. You know, I've seen Camelot, obviously, and First Night, and then there was a Disney one, and so yeah, no, I've seen tons of them, and I think being British, we grow up with the legends. There are legends, you know, so I mean, I know all the mythical tales inside out. I think when I first heard they were doing another King Arthur, I was like, well, I don't really understand how they can do it again. You know, it seems that every single possible way of doing a King Arthur story has been done. But as I said, you know, it is completely different. It's trying to make a reality out of the myth, and that's something that's really, really exciting to be a part of.
With a new story, a radical makeover was due for most of the characters, especially Guinevere.
There are aspects of the character that are action-packed. Women did fight on equal standing with men. That's a historical fact.
Watching, action!
I love him to pieces. He's incredible, and I think what really excited everyone is that you have a director who's done Training Day, who's done Tears of the Sun, and then chooses to do King Arthur. You know, and King Arthur is very much the myths and legends. I'd always think about kind of an old English director, you know, doing it, and the idea of this guy coming in who was completely fresh and had done really these very modern films. You know, to do this film was just really exciting. I'm interested in history anyway, so I had looked into the period vaguely. I think it's very difficult where if you do a lot of research into a time period, you can get completely obsessed by it. So when there are little things that are wrong, it can get really annoying. So I decided to just kind of do my basic study of it so that I wouldn't get really angry if something was inaccurate. So yes, but I am interested in the period, and especially doing a film like this, you know, you kind of want to immerse yourself in it. We like to call it night school. It sounded less terrifying. For about 2 weeks before we started, all of the knights plus me were brought over to Dublin to train rather intensively on all the kind of sword fighting and the riding. So basically we had to get up at some hideous hour in the morning and come out to a field in the middle of nowhere in the rain, jump on a horse, gallop round that field a couple of times, falling off occasionally, jump off, do a couple of fight scenes, do a bit of archery, and train a lot.
She was so focused. I remember the first day I walked on the set and she was firing the archery. And she would just, I would say, hey, how you doing, Keira? She was like, fine. Would barely look at you, just, and was nailing it.
We did about 5 months just outside Dublin in Ireland. And then little bits and pieces in England and all that, but mostly in Ireland.
Speaking of touch, the film's big love scene required a fair amount of that between Knightley and Owen.
That's part of the job, actually, and you shouldn't do anything that you're not comfortable with doing, and I was completely comfortable. You know, we had a fantastic director, Antoine Fuqua, and by the time we shot that scene, you know, I knew all the crew really well. It was a close set anyway, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't think that it was paramount to the story, you know, and it absolutely is, so it isn't unnecessary in any way. So no, I had no problem with doing it, and actually I didn't even take my clothes off, so it was, you know, it was quite great, really. I think this is primarily an action movie. If you're going to do an action movie, it gets really, really boring if you don't do the action, because it means you sit around for hours and hours and hours on end. I was lucky enough to actually have two or 3 weeks off prior to the big fight scene. I thought, well, I can either go home and chill out with friends, or I can actually learn how to do all these fights. When I worked with Jerry before on Pirates of the Caribbean, I was complaining the entire time because I didn't have a sword. So he's not only given me swords, he's given me knives, axes, and all the rest of it as well, so I have nothing to complain about.
She's a brilliant actress. She's got a beautiful smile. She's gorgeous. And she's one of the best young actresses in the world right now.
I can't say enough about her. She's amazing. She's, when you meet her, she's such a little spunky, like little teenager, pretty, you know, little punk, you know, tough, smart. And then when you put her on film, this woman just like explodes onto the screen, and you just fall in love with her.
A lot of moviegoers have fallen for the teenager from Teddington, London. Keira Knightley has been called a beautiful tomboy, a top Hollywood draft pick, and the most beautiful British import since Elizabeth Taylor.
Your own father married a Briton. Even he must have found something to his liking.
She was born in the spring of 1985 to stage actor Will Knightley and his wife, playwright Sharman MacDonald. When she was 6, Keira's parents agreed to let a theatrical agent represent her on the condition their daughter work extra hard to overcome the reading disorder dyslexia she was born with. Keira made her film debut in 1994 at age 9. 3 years later, she snagged the small role of Natalie Portman's decoy queen in Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace.
So I loved doing it. It was great to be a part of it. You know, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so it was great to say, yeah, I've been in a Star Wars movie. But no, I didn't get any job from it. Partly because nobody knew it was me, so you know, why would I? But no, it was really great. It was kind of like being dropped in at the deep end, you know, and sort of being with all those blue screens and effects. But it was great.
Keira's breakthrough role came in 2002 as a soccer-obsessed teenager in Bend It Like Beckham. The next year, she made Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. Keira's co-star was Johnny Depp, which made her friends very jealous.
I don't think they've forgiven me yet. Some of my girlfriends, actually, he was filming around the corner from my house in London on his last film, and then they camped outside. So when I first heard that I'd got the role, it took me a good 2-3 weeks before I plucked up the courage to tell them that I was working with Johnny. And you know, they're starting to get over it now, but it was a close call.
The girls weren't much happier when they watched Keira kiss her Caribbean co-star Orlando Bloom.
I did go around with a very smug grin on my face when I got to kiss him.
More big screen love came Keira's way in 2003 in the romantic comedy Love Actually. Keira's real love life has included a few relationships, most recently with Irish model Jamie Dornan. It's a pretty glamorous life for someone not yet out of her teens, but Keira says while her life has changed, her values have not.
You know what, it's I'm spending so little time at home at the moment that it's just hanging out with friends and family, drinking a good bottle of wine with some good food. You know, I think that's the ultimate evening. Well, I have to say, I was kind of more focused on the fact that I did have a lot of my body out a lot of the time, so I was always in the gym thinking, okay, six-pack, six-pack. They had inbuilt pecs and six-packs in their armour. I thought that was really unfair. But yeah, but no, they are all fantastic, really, really gorgeous, and eye candy, it's always good.
She's just a wonderful actress, and the fact that she's beautiful doesn't hurt. We have all these, 7 hunks, these men that are really handsome according to the women anyway.
Not bad a role for her.
No, she had a ball. 7 guys in leather, she loved it.
In just 3 short years, Keira Knightley has gone from obscurity to stardom. In the process, she has lost much of her privacy. She tries not to read her own press.
To tell you the truth, I'm always kept in a pretty protected bubble, so I don't really notice. I think, yeah, it is slightly more full on in London. Maybe it's just because I spend more time there, so I notice it a tiny bit more. But you know, it's all good. Yeah. It tastes different in Ireland than it does anywhere else in the world, so it's fantastic. It's just creamy and gorgeous, and it is like it's just fantastic. It's a meal in a glass.